Hey there everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm your host Puborama, and in today's video I will be breaking into the best armored vehicle after the Agents of Sabotage DLC in Grand Theft Auto Online. There are a lot of different armored vehicles, and the major ones that everybody wants to get their hands on are IMANI Tech. In front of us we have three IMANI Tech vehicles. We have the Grotti Stinger TT, which is absolutely amazing. We have the Ocelot Virtue and the Buffalo EVX. All three of these cars have the ability to not only put on missile lock-on jammers, but also survive 10 homing missiles and 4 RPGs. Well, actually, the electric cars, the Virtue and EVX, can survive 10 RPGs, but any of the gas-powered vehicles, like the Stinger TT, are only going to survive 4. However, as I always say, the chance of you getting hit by 4 RPGs or sticky bombs is basically 0, judging that you're driving. It's not that easy to hit somebody 4 times in a row. At that point, I think you kind of deserve it. So, IMANI Tech vehicles are always the best in many players' minds. The Buffalo STX usually wins the top of the tree because it has semi-bulletproof glass. It's a great vehicle in most case scenarios. However, there are some downsides to IMANI Tech. The major one is the fact that you need to purchase an agency to upgrade it. If we make our way over to Dynasty 8 and then we go over to Dynasty 8 Executive, we can see the agencies, and they're fairly expensive, upwards of $2 million. And you also need to get the vehicle workshop, which is an additional $800,000. So you're literally looking at $2.8 million to get your hands on any IMANI Tech vehicle just to upgrade, and then you have to add on all the upgrades later. The vehicle I'll be talking about in today's video, in my eyes, completely defeats the purpose of getting an agency. Oops. Thank God I drank all my water, because that was filled earlier. That's why I put it over there. I was a little worried I was about to look over at a destroyed computer. But, as I was saying, the vehicle we're going to be talking about today, the Duke O'Death, at least in my eyes, kind of defeats the purpose of IMANI Tech vehicles. And why, you may ask? Why does this vehicle defeat the purpose? Well, it's because in the latest update, Rockstar has added a missile lock-on jammer to 50 different vehicles, 3 of which were armored: the Anus Cognoscenti 55, the Gallivanter Baller, and this, the Duke O'Death, which we can see I already have my missile lock-on jammer equipped to. This is incredible because it means you can drive your Duke O'Death and never have to worry about being blown up again. To be honest, I never worried to begin with about being blown up. I made a video maybe about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, where I titled the Duke O'Death as the best armored vehicle overall in the game, due to the bulletproof protection it has, due to the speed, the fact that it easily pushes cars out of its ways, it's maneuverable. I and many people agreed that this is the best overall armored vehicle, that it can be used in missions and everything like that. And now that Rockstar added a missile lock-on jammer, it's no doubt in my mind, this is the best armored vehicle in the game. You might say, well, why not just use my Buffalo STX? And the answer is pretty simple. There's one problem I have with armored glass vehicles. You see, if I want to shoot somebody out of my Duke, it doesn't really matter if I shoot, because it has no glass. As we can see, there is no glass pane to break. You do have armor all around the vehicle, though. This front scoop eats a lot of shells from NPCs. In fact, I'm going to make my way to a job while we talk about the Duke to showcase just how good it is against NPCs when it comes to survivability. But the problem I have with the IMANI Tech vehicles, or any vehicle that has somewhat bulletproof glass, is you have to shoot through the glass to kill the NPCs, which defeats the whole purpose of it. Like, yeah, you have this protective glass, but it's only effective, I guess, against like a random player that might try and kill you. Apart from that, I just don't really see much of a reason to why you would care that much about the glass. And that's the problem. When it comes to something like the weaponized Ignis or the Vapid Speedo Custom, it's great because you have a mounted minigun on the roof. So you have this pretty strong glass that then you can use the minigun to kill people with. But for most IMANI Tech cars, the front-mounted machine guns suck, so you're going to have to pull out your weapons, and at that point, you're just losing most of the protective capabilities. I guess what you could do is throw sticky bombs out of your car, but you get my point. With the Duco Death, that is not a problem, because the Duco Death, as I mentioned, features a lot of protection around the driver. You can see that the metal plates around my character's head take up a good, I would say, half of what normally would be a window on most cars. I mean, we can see here the difference. That's a very small slit that people can shoot through versus an NPC aiming at a big ol' open window. And my favorite part about the Duke is that it weighs a lot. We can see that right here. This car on the other side of the road, I easily push out of my way without a moment's hesitation. And I can do this to any car that is on the road, as we can see. I do not get stopped. This is huge because when you're doing missions, it's very common for NPCs to drive directly into you when they randomly spawn in front of you. And it can be very irritating because they will crash into your car and then they'll proceed to beam you in the face with rounds. But when it comes to the Duke, that doesn't happen, because if the NPCs try to drive into you, well, this vehicle just smashes them right out of the way, and you continue on driving. So, what about explosion resistance? What does the Duke have going for it? Well, it can survive a whopping 6 to 7 homing missiles, and now that you can't lock onto it with homing missiles, basically it means you're not going to ever get blown up by homing missiles, and even if you're getting shot at by RPGs, it can survive upwards of 3, the 4th blowing it up. In other words, the same as a Buffalo STX, the same as a Gradiatelli GTO Stinger TT, with all the other benefits. The Duke has completely bulletproof back panels, and as I said, this car is way better than you'd think when it comes to survivability against bullets. Look at how little I'm being shot right now. The reason why, as I mentioned, is because the engine itself has this massive scoop that eats a lot of shells, but it's also the fact that this vehicle just has armor all around it. As we can see from this side over here, I've got this massive metal panel, which means nothing can shoot me. Really, in general, this car is super well armored. All I need to do is every now and then have some snacks, and I'm done. And you can use all the weapons you want out of the front of it. Now, you can't use any explosives, but it really just isn't that big of a deal, judging that you can use any other weapon you want very, very easily. So, yeah, I mean, this is why I think the Duke is really just the best armored vehicle in the game. And it's free. If we go over to Warstock Cash and Carry very quickly, Travel and Transport, and we sort by price, you can see the Duco Death is free. There's no reason not to get this car. As a beginner, this is the best buy in the game. Look at the amount of bullets, well, look at the amount of bullets, though, my car has received. Look at this! And yet, I've bled almost nothing. It's a great example of why this vehicle's so good against bullets. And the best part is if you're ever low on health, you just turn it towards the back, like this, and then, as I said, the entire back of this vehicle is completely bulletproof, because the louvers actually count as armor. So you don't have to worry about being shot through the back, you can just sit still, wait for your character to regen, and you're completely fine. So, yeah, I think the Duke's incredible. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? But I can say, at least in my opinion, this is the best armored vehicle now in the game, especially judging that you don't need an agency. All you need is an MOC to be able to upgrade it, which is actually insane. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you'd like to see more like it, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye!